Hey there, Jeremy Weiss here with Weiss Tech Hockey, and in this video I wanted to talk about another penalty kill setup called the Wedge +1. Now, as we get into our penalty kill setups, it actually kind of mirrors what we were doing with our regular 5-on-5 defensive zone coverage stuff. So for example, we started off by talking about the simple box penalty kill setup. Well, the simple box is very protective of the front of the net, but it's not very aggressive. So it's actually really similar to the box +1 defensive zone coverage setup that we talked about. Now we're moving on to a slightly more aggressive version of defensive zone coverage, of penalty kill setup, and this is called the Wedge +1. Now the Wedge +1 is very similar in objectives and similar in setup to the sagging zone coverage. So that's what we're going to talk about right now, and then I'm going to actually do another video that shows you an even more aggressive version of this that is actually very similar to our sagging zone arrow coverage. So let's go ahead, we'll pull up the rink and I'll show you the basic setup here. The Wedge +1 or triangle +1 is called that because it's pretty straightforward. We make a triangle in front of the net, so we got 3 guys in front of the net and then 1 guy pressuring the puck carrier. So it's a Wedge +1 or a triangle +1. In this case, the setup is very simple, very straightforward, and I'm just basically going to show you the setup and then show you some of the shifts that could happen with this potential setup. So here we have the puck is in the corner. We've got our strong side defenseman pressuring the puck carrier. Now, force and contain tactics are very important to understand, especially in the penalty kill. So there may be an opportunity if that opposing forward is bobbling the puck, where that defenseman can go in, make a hit, and take the puck and get the icing. He needs to be able to read that. Obviously, if the player has good control and he's looking straight out at the play, that defenseman, if he goes in full bore and tries to make a hit, he's probably going to get deked or get sidestepped, and then we're in even bigger mess. So force versus contain is very, very important for our forwards and defensemen to understand, especially in the penalty kill situations. So he's going to go out there, he's going to read the play, whether or not it should be force or contain. He's going to play it accordingly, and he's going to put pressure on the puck carrier. We've got our other defenseman on the strong side post. Then we've got a forward in the kind of mid-slot area. And if you remember when we talked about defensive zone coverage, we talked a little bit about the 2 potential areas or 2 potential passing lanes from a man in the corner. That's basically, so he's got one that goes up ice and one that goes at a right angle from that. In this case, we have nobody behind the net, so that's not really a passing option unless he just decides to dump it in that side. So we're not going to worry too much about that at this point. But this forward does need to be aware of that and ready to jump out there if it does go up to the point. The other forward is our sag man, and this guy is extremely important, especially in the Wedge +1 penalty kill, because we're putting our other defenseman on the strong side post. So that makes it pretty difficult for him to pick up any backdoor men. So that puts the backdoor responsibility onto the sagging forward. So that's what we're going to have him do. He's got to have his head on a swivel. He's got to be strong. And I drew him behind this guy. In reality, I'd probably put him between the puck and the backdoor man, but at the same time keeping track of where that guy is. So don't let him get loose. Especially don't let him get loose on the back door behind you. So kind of just make sure that you're always in a position where you can tie him up or intercept a pass there. But yeah, I'll let you as coaches, make sure that your guys are playing that properly according to the way that you want it. So that's the basic setup, and let's just say that now we have a pass that goes out to the point. And we'll show you how the shift works. So in this case, we're going to have our forward who was somewhat anticipating that already. He's going to jump out there. And then again, he's going to play force or contain. If that defenseman's bobbling it, he might have a chance to poke check that puck out into the neutral zone and maybe even get a breakaway. If the defenseman has really good control of it, then he's definitely not going to want to go out there and try to make a big hit because obviously that's easy to get beat there, and then we're in a 5-on-3 instead of a 5-on-4. As this happens, this defenseman's going to slide over, this defenseman slides back, so we've still got our triangle in front of the net, and we've got 1 man chasing. Like I said, this is more aggressive, but it's not as aggressive as it absolutely possibly could be, and I'll show you that in the next video. But that's the shift there. If it comes over to here, then basically this forward retreats back, this forward slides out, and we still have our 2 defensemen. in this case, since this forward is coming back in, I'd probably shift the responsibility of this back doorman onto this defenseman, just because it's an easier job for him to pick up. But when at the end of the day, everybody's retreating back to the front of the net except the man that's chasing. So that's the basic wedge plus one. Let's just say that it goes from here back down into the corner. Then the shift just, this guy sags back down, this guy goes out, and when we've got our basic setup again. One thing that may throw you for a little bit of a loop is if they start trying to attack the seam. The seam is always just, it can be a little bit confusing. So that's part of the reason why I like to keep this forward relatively low in this particular setup. So we've got our sag man, we've got our defenseman. This forward, instead of sending them all the way out, if we send them somewhat low, then that kind of eliminates this this possible seam and the option of this guy walking out across the top of the circle there. So if he does try that, that forward can take him. It's also nice to have the defenseman be able to make a stab at it. But at the end of the day, we still have our defenseman, the other defenseman, on the strong side post. So hopefully, if this guy tries to not come across the top of the circle, but maybe try to split the two attackers, then this guy just comes straight out and makes a nice hit on him. So we are fairly well covered, I'd say, in front of the net, and between the wedge in front of the net and then the +1 guy chasing, then I think we have pretty much most of our bases covered with this particular PK. So have fun with that, and hopefully it'll cause a few more turnovers with this one than with the simple box.